Life is unfair. Life is unfair. And at times, it can almost feel like God Himself is unfair. If we were paying attention to this gospel, it does seem like the owner of this vineyard, who symbolizes God Himself, is being a little unfair. The people that worked 1 hour get the same wages as those who work the whole entire day. Now, when we hear this gospel, sometimes we can almost misunderstand what this actually symbolizes. What does this denarii that He gives everybody 1 denarii for that day, what does that symbolize? Does that necessarily mean that, God is going to give everybody the exact same thing so that everybody in life will have the exact same thing? No, because clearly, not everybody has the exact same thing. Some people have great health. Some people have very poor health. Some people have status. And with that status, life comes easy for them. Some people, no matter what they do, they'll never ever get out of that place that they're in society. Some people just were born into money and wealth. And some people, no matter how much they try, they're never going to get to that level of wealth. It can seem as though God is unfair. But what God is trying to say is that, yes, life may be unfair, and you will not get the exact same thing as your brother or as your sister. And at times, we will be very tempted to compare, just like they did in the gospel. Why are you giving him the same thing that you gave me? And we do this. We can compare very much. Why do the good people in the world always get the kafka, and the bad people seem to get everything right? The people that you know that are doing evil, you're like, look at them. They were on a cruise, then they go to Europe, then they have all this money, they just got a new Rolex, they got a new car, their life just is beautiful. So we think. And God doesn't work this way. God's logic is very different than yours and mine. God doesn't work in a worldly sense. He works in a heavenly sense. And so it depends on where is my mind. Like, how does my mind think? What is my mind on? Right? Because what God is trying to say here, and to all of us, the meaning of this gospel is essentially that it does not matter when you come to the Lord in life. You may come to the Lord, some people come to God, and they come to their senses at the age of 80 years old. And some people, they come to God they never left God. They were with God from the age of 3, and their whole entire lives, they walked with God. But if you come to God, and you do His will, no matter at what point of your life, when you find God's will, and you do it, and you follow Him, and you surrender your life to Him, He's going to give you the exact same mercy and love as He gives to everybody. His love and His mercy are the exact same. But love and mercy and grace does not always equate worldly wealth, worldly health, worldly sustenance. And this is where we get it mixed up. Today is October 13th. The church remembers this day as the day that in the city of Fatima, Mary was appearing to 3 separate children. From May until October, on the 13th of every month, she would appear to them. Many of you guys know the story of Our Lady of Fatima. Jacinta, Lucia, and Francesco. And when she appeared to them, she asked them a very, very intense question. Now, mind you, these children are like anywhere from 8 to 10, maybe 12. Lucia was maybe 12. She asks them, are you willing to suffer greatly for God's purpose and plan? These are children. These are children. Mary is asking 3 little shepherd children, are you willing to suffer? And they said, yes, we are. You know what these 3 little children, I just finished reading a book on them. I was sobbing. Because these 3 little children would do the craziest little sacrifices in atonement for sinners so that sinners would come back to God. Little Jacinta, who was like 7 years old, 8 years old, when they would be at play and they would bring them a snack, like grapes, and grapes were a big thing for them at that time, she would say no, and she would take it and she would go give it to the other kids playing in the neighborhood, and she would say, I offer this for the sinners that Mary told us about, so that they can turn to God. I will make this sacrifice so that they can come to God. Little 7-year-old. I can't even say no to a potato chop, for God's sakes. I mean, if they're there, I'm going to eat like all 10 of them that are sitting there. I can't even say no to like Gushers. Like, don't ever bring me Gushers. Like, I will eat the whole entire box, okay? And they would do this. And then little by little, people would come to them and they would beg them to ask Mary to cure them. There was a soldier who, his wife was pregnant and very, very ill, and he was being drafted to the military. So he went in front of Jacinta and he fell at her feet and he literally started begging this little girl to beg Mary to do something for him. So then every single day, little Jacinta would pray an extra Hail Mary after praying their 4 rosaries a day for all mysteries. She would offer up one last Hail Mary for him, and then she would offer a penance, a sacrifice for him. Until one day, months later, he came up to her with his wife and their 3 children. And he came up to her and he said, just before I was supposed to go to war, I got sick. I got a fever, and they let me go. My wife got cured. Miraculously, my wife is cured. We had our baby, and things are well. Now again, Mary, when she would appear to them, they would say, can you cure this person? Can you cure this person? And she would say, some will be cured, some will not. Again, why? Is God unfair? Believe it or not, 2 years after Mary appeared to them, Francesco actually dies. They die from the Spanish flu, influenza. And then a year later, little Jacinta dies. Mary actually told the both of them, I'm going to take you to heaven. She actually told Jacinta, you will die alone in the hospital, but I will come to take you. She said, you will die alone, but I want you to offer that sacrifice for sinners, so that sinners can turn to God, so that God is no longer offended by sin, that God would be merciful and forgiving. And little Jacinta, at this point 10 years old, would cry every night because she was so afraid of dying alone in that hospital room. And guess what, guys? Exactly what Mary told her. You will be taken to the Lisbon hospital, and you will die alone, but I will come to take you. And exactly what happened. It's exactly what happened. She was taken to this particular hospital in Lisbon, like an hour and some away, in the middle of the night, no nurse, no doctor, no parent, no nobody. She died alone in that hospital room. But Mary came to take her. In all of this, it can seem like these two children saw Mary, they saw the Blessed Virgin Mary, and she healed so many people. Why wouldn't she heal them? Because again, it doesn't seem like God is fair. We don't understand God's ways. The question here is, what do we do when we feel like life and God are unfair? What we need to do is, we need to do what Mary asked at Fatima. She said, pray the rosary. Pray the rosary. And if you don't know how to pray the rosary, just go on YouTube and put Holy Rosary. You'll find thousands of videos. Just pray one and just listen to the rosary. The rosary, my brothers and sisters, is so powerful. It's way more powerful than we can ever imagine. Because literally through the rosary, the devil is reminded of that moment when the angel came to Mary and said, "Hail full of grace." And at that moment, grace entered into Mary and entered into the world, and he lost. And it was done through Mary's obedience. Even though Mary didn't quite understand everything in her life. And Simeon told her that a sword would pierce her heart. Life was unfair. But she remained with God. So when things are unfair, when things are not making sense in life, and there will come a time when that happens, what do? We cling to God. We cling to Our Lady. We cling to our rosaries. Hold that rosary. Even if you can't pray the rosary, just hold on to the rosary. And when you hold on to the rosary, you hold on to Mary's hand. I assure you that you're holding her hand, and she's holding yours. Until the storm passes by. My brothers and sisters, today, grab your rosary. And if you can't say the whole rosary, say one decade, which is one Our Father and Hail Marys. And if you really want to know how to use the rosary, find out what are the mysteries of the rosary. What are each mystery of the rosary? And when you find out what the mysteries are of the rosary, especially the sorrowful ones, you meditate on the life of Jesus and Mary, and you see how unfair and how painful life was for them. And it gives you context, it gives you enlightenment, it gives you encouragement for the difficulties that come in your life today. So today, as we remember Mary at Fatima, we remember Mary's message, and we will grab our rosaries, and we will stay faithful to God, no matter how difficult and unfair life may seem. Because in the end, God loves us all equally. And His grace is abundant for all.